Hey everyone, welcome to another stately stream. So this is the second time that we're doing this. And if you remember the first time we were building a resizable panel with Farzad over here. And this isn't the resizable panel, it's just a video showing us building the resizable panel. But yeah, we got a lot of really good feedback on it. So we're going to just continue on and add some new features to our resizable panel. So yeah, Farzad, do you want to talk about like what we have in mind in terms of features?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Farzad. I'm an engineer in XState, by the way. Tonight, so we covered a lot of things. Last time, we modeled with the state chart. We modeled the resizable panel that only works on the horizontal axis. We worked it out so that it works with the pointer events and the pointer locks, so that you don't lose track of it when your pointer gets out of the boundaries. We canceled the moving the resizable around when you press escape while dragging. And we built a collapse state so that when it kind of like shrinks down to width 0 or 1, and then you can grab it out. And there's like a min width and there's a max width and stuff like that. But these were for the last stream. In this one, we're thinking about maybe extending it so that it works also vertically. And what else? We wanted to show different CSS cursors based on the state of the resizable panel. And we wanted the double click on the resizable handle to reset the state of the resizable component.
That's right. So also, hello Diver, welcome. Wonderful library. Thank you so much. So I assume you're talking about XState, unless there's another library.
Yeah, I second that.
There's React Redux Form, but I don't think that's a wonderful library that I've made. We don't talk about that. Forms are terrible. Anyway, yeah, so as far as I was talking about, we have these features, and I apologize. I was showing this off screen. I forgot to put my screen on there. But VS Code has a really good way, or a really good demonstration of just what we're trying to build. If I could zoom in. Oh yeah, I can. That's awesome. So with VS Code, and I really like their implementation a lot. It's the one that we're basically modeling. You have this drag drop thing over here. It collapses and it opens. So we've got that. So the first thing that Farzad talked about was the ability to also vertically resize. So right now in our code, we're sort of hard coding width and the desired width, really. So you could see this is for listening for the escape key. We could abstract that out. We could even clean this up a little bit as we go along. But right now, we're just basing everything on the width. So what Farzad is talking about is, let's maybe do it for the height as well, or the desired height.
I mean, why not, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It should be able to work both ways. And I was talking to Farzad earlier, maybe not necessarily both ways for the same panel, because some panels are vertical panels and some panels are horizontal panels. Like this is for just this overall panel over here. I'm trying to zoom out and failing. But yeah, so we could specify like which mode we're working in, basically. So we could talk about that. So another thing too is that when we go to some certain threshold, I don't know if you could see my mouse really clearly, but you could see that the arrow changes from an east-west cursor to just a east cursor. So basically an arrow pointing to the right. And it actually works the same way. If we go all the way here, it's going to point directly to the left. And so that's basically an indication that, hey, you actually can't move anymore. So I think when it's collapsed too, yeah, it only shows the right. And I believe that the same sort of behavior happens over here. Yeah, you see, I don't know if you could see because it's very small, but the arrow is pointing up. And then when I get to a certain threshold up here, it's going to change to down. So
yeah, that's a nice touch.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Another thing I thought was cool, and so right now we're doing the thing that VS Code nor Code Sandbox does, which is pressing escape, brings it back to its previous position. But let's say that we don't want that, and instead we want a way to reset the panel to be whatever its default position was. So in VS Code, if you double click, it snaps to this default position. So it's not the past position. Like we could move it over here, let go, double click. It's still going to be that default position. And same thing over here. So if I double click here, it's going to, turn to half. I think if I double click here, it's going to be half of that. I guess there's some pretty custom logic going on there for that. But yeah, let's see what we could do.
I really hope that the developers who, David, maybe you worked on the VS Code when you were working at Microsoft. I know that you worked on the live share, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I sincerely hope that the devs who actually coded those interactions in VS Code really know that these are the features.
And I'm sure that they do. And so that's the interesting thing too, is that these features, like they're features that you sort of discover. Like, I don't know about you, Farzad, but I didn't read a 2,000-page VS Code manual that showed all of the features. Like a lot of the features are things that I actually discover, and you can't even really know them ahead of time because they change every month. I always enjoy reading the VS Code, like what's new this month, because the features just keep changing in a good way.
The release notes are nice. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, and I had no idea that the cursor actually show you that you're getting to the thresholds on the left or right side. This is just all new to me.
Yeah. In fact, I only learned that today. So
good timing. All right, let's get to code.
Okay, let's get to code. So the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to basically have a mode, like whether it's going vertical or it's going horizontal. So there's a few ways that we can model that, and that's the interesting thing about state charts, is that sometimes there isn't just one way to do it. It's sort of like, working. It's sort of like more of an art than a science. But yeah, what are you thinking?
Keeping a mode probably in the context of the machine is intriguing, but then it kind of implies that you could change that dynamically based on some external criteria, right? Because it could be dynamic, but it's usually something that's quite static and fixed. If it's a horizontal or resizable panel, it's going to stay horizontal. So maybe we could have two different machines for it, but at the same time, state charts give us a good way to abstract the better part of all this logic. So
yeah,
I would say let's just reuse a good part of the model and see how it works.
Yeah, let's do that. So with resize context, I have width everywhere. So we're basically hard coding the fact that it could only go left to right. And so instead of width, because we're only dealing in a single dimension, whether it's vertical or horizontal, I'm going to rename this to size. So size, and actually it updates over here too. It's pretty awesome. And so I'm going to put prev size here too, prev size. And we're going to add something new. We're going to add default size. That's going to be the number. That's going to be a number. Okay, so
that's going to be the number that you reset to when you double click on the resizable element.
Exactly. All right, so checking TypeScript for any things. Okay, I found another place where we're sort of hard coding. This. So we have a 100 over here. And that really represents, the threshold for, when you get to below 100, it closes. Actually, okay, so there's a couple different things. We have the min width.
That was in the CSS, right? If I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah, that is in the CSS. And it is important that it stays in the CSS too. So maybe we could figure out a better way to do that. But right now I want to focus on like the width and the height part. So
sure. Are you thinking about serializable guards, or are you thinking about deriving that from the context?
Right now, since now there's no notion of width, it's all size, previous size, default size. So what that means is that, actually, let me make this a little bit smaller. I just realized I was showing the share link. So anyone watching, you could just join this, I guess, if you were clever enough
to. It's pretty zoomed out. Don't worry about that.
Okay. Well, hopefully everyone could read the code. So yeah, we're just going to make the size of this box. Oops, I forgot I'm using inline styling. It's not good. But we're going to change the height of this to just be 50 so that, we could actually see it. All right, let me actually try something. I'm going to just copy and paste and make this like a horizontal handle. Or sorry, it's not a horizontal. It's a vertical handle, but it's going to be laid out horizontally. So just going to switch a couple things. The top is going to be 0, or the left is going to be 0. The bottom is going to be 100%. And so where is it? There it is. Okay, we have the completely wrong cursor. North-south resize. Okay, that's awesome. So the it's still working. It's just in the wrong place. And so that's because right now we're using that size to just for the width. So if we were to change that, and I'm just doing
this is where the unit tests pass, but the integrations don't.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to add height, and we're reading the size over here. Where's my height? It's 50 VH, and so our min height is going to be collapsed. Oops, not as observable. Collapsed 0, 50 VH. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, we're still changing the width. And I forgot something too. So our actions, we have this update width action, but that's
rename that to update size.
Well, all right. So the problem is that we are hard. Yeah. So I'm sort of going back on what I said because we sort of do need to basically have two separate like update width and update heights, because we have this left over here. So this one should actually be from the from the top. So,
yeah, we basically have to flip around some of those property accessors so that it corresponds to the mode that we're building.
Yeah, so desired. Right. And so now if we see where that update width thing is happening, yeah, let's just do a couple things. We're going to update the width and update heights, but we're not going to. Actually, we might read the width. This might get into. Oh wow. Okay. Oh hey, there we go. Okay. So you see how it is sort of. We do have it working. It's just working in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So,
let's figure out why.
Yeah, and this might just be a CSS thing, because naturally it is how it works with CSS. We have this panel over here, and like because we're displaying it in a block, any change to the height is going to basically stretch it down. So let's figure out a different way to do this. And again, this is just completely experimental code. So I got an idea. We're going to make this position fixed. We're going to set the bottom to 0 and left to 0. And so this is going to put it right at the bottom. And so that way,
So what's the problem again, David? I didn't quite catch that.
The problem is that it is stretching the wrong way. So
right.
Let's see, client Y minus bottom should be bottom minus, yeah, it should be bottom minus client Y. Okay, let's try this. Here we go.
Yep.
Okay, so after a certain threshold, it should collapse down, which is a little bit broken right now because it's also collapsing the width.
Mm-hmm.
But at least we got the vertical working. So that's working. And let's try something. If I press escape, it's going to go back. So what's funny is that all of our logic still pretty much works. And so now we have a way to, I guess, update both the width and the height using the same, uh, the same state chart. Although ideally we would only want to do one.
So I have an idea if you want to do it right now.
Sure.
It's sort of an optimization, but we could kind of have the actions with the serialized names and then have two machines. One is horizontal resizable panel machine, another one is vertical. And each of them just provide the right implementation for the mode. Does that make sense? So instead of the actions, actual action implementations in the machine, we could have just update size, and then horizontal machine will provide the implementation for that. Vertical machine would provide a vertical implementation for that action.
Okay.
Again, this is sort of an optimization, so I don't know if you want to do it right now.
Yeah. Trying to think.
Tell you what, before we get to that part, let's figure out why the collapsing is broken.
Oh, so I know why the collapsing is broken. So once we get to the collapse state, we're basically collapsing both the width and the height.
Right.
So that's why.
Mm-hmm. We should be doing either of them.
Yeah. So, oh, you know what? So speaking about your idea of just having like parameterized actions, okay, cool. So I got an idea. And actually, this is more so your idea. So const update width equals assign that. We'll figure out the types later.
Yeah.
And then we have const update height equals assign that. So now in our machine, instead of saying we're going to both assign the width and the height because that doesn't really make sense, we're going to update size.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm getting you. So, we have these two functions that we could use, but in our machine, we're providing update
just size.
Yes, and so now we could say, hey, for this one, it's going to be vertical, so we want to update the heights.
Exactly, and this is only because state charts give you a great way to just abstract the logic without having to get into the implementations.
Yeah. Okay, so that's cool. Let's do something. In fact, if you want to do this, I was going to say let's make a resize hook or something.
Kind of like use resize or something that abstracts away use machine.
Exactly. So basically, here's my usage. I want to say const size send equals use resize vertical, and maybe pass we pass the ref. Mm-hmm. Oh, and like the some of these things. So
yeah, before doing that, I mean, I would have to do that. I think it's Martin that has an idea. I'm just going to show it here. Maybe it's not horizontal or vertical machines that's needed, but for as much directions it needs to cover, so you can have a handle on the other side as well. So I think he is discussing the idea of having like directional resizing, sort of.
Okay, so yeah, I see what you're saying. So basically, imagine that we actually, let's do this Excalidraw, and I hope I have nothing here, which I do, but that's okay. Okay, so imagine that we have, let's make this thick, rectangle over here. That is not what I wanted. Here, we'll just make this stroke and, sorry, hold on. Okay, here we go. We have a nice rectangle over here. And so what I think is being said is that, let's say that we have, wow, I'm not good at this. Okay, let's say that we have a handle over here. We have a handle over here. Another one right here. Just like imagine that all four of these are, capable. Like where we're able to basically drag it from any direction. So if we were working with something where it's like, hey, we only want to be able to drag it from the right, then we could just disable these three. So
I guess that makes sense.
yeah, so we're basically working from the assumption that we have a box where if we wanted to, we could just stretch it from any which direction we want.
Okay, so our horizontal resizable panel only enables the ones on the sides, right and
Exactly.
left.
Yeah.
I guess
So
it makes sense.
yeah. So why is my text transparent? Okay, here we go. And I'll make this extra large too. Okay, so I guess in our context then we have a
Well, I guess we just need directions, right?
yeah, so it would be a desired width. So width, and then we also have height. And of course we also have our thresholds too, but basically these two control the width, or sorry, the heights. And the other two control the width. So I think that's what's going to make the most sense. So basically allow both.
Okay, it's great because you can technically then have a resizable component that can be resized in both directions using the same machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
I remember you saying that that's a use case that you wanted to support. Like if the user did want to go both vertical and horizontal. And so it turns out that that's going to be the easiest thing to implement.
Yeah.
So if width, height, we do want the prev width, which is a number. You want the prev height, which is a number. We want a default width, which is a number.
And a default height, yeah.
Which is a number. Okay.
So we can get rid of size on prev size, default size. And then we're going to have 4 refs.
4?
4 different refs to 4 different elements.
All right. So the ref actually refers to the actual rectangle. So thankfully we only need 1. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And okay, before we get to the code, what would it mean if we press escape? Does that only reset the handler that is moving right now?
It'll
And what would collapsing mean with this new model?
All right, so I guess we have to take a look at our events in order to do that. But yeah, because okay, so I got it. Right now, we get into the dragging state and then we have our pointer move. So this instead is going to be something like pointer move.x or pointer move.y. So we're going to have a specific event for whether we're changing the width, which is x, or the heights, which is y. And then, yeah, like you said, depending on the pointer, the escape will just take it to the previous size. But we could actually reset it to both. It's not going to make too much of a difference. So wish I had Copilot here. Copilot's really good at like these copy paste patterns. Okay, cool. So we need some new events. We're not defining events anywhere, so that's okay. I'm going to call this pointer move.x. And so we're going to say this is, we're just going to update the width over here.
Yep. We want that to be a string.
Cannot access update width before initialization.
Oh. Yeah, because we have it initialized down there.
Yeah. So let's bring that up here. And we'll fix TypeScript later. So yeah, so we have on pointer move x and on pointer move y, we're going to update the height. And then let's see, pointer move. All of these could basically stay the same. And like we talked about, the width is just going to be the previous width, and the height is just going to be the previous heights, because I mean, if we're only moving the width, then the height's going to be the same anyway. So
Yeah. And while we're at it, I'm just going to add a reset event here so that on double click, we can just reset to the default size.
Ooh, nice.
Yep. Default width and default height.
All right, cool. So we have some errors: initial state normal, not found, collapse, and that's because I removed it. Sorry. I just removed it just to disable that. I guess I could have commented all of that out. Okay, so now we have a couple of new events. We have pointerMove.x and pointerMove.y, and so we need to change the context here too. So this size is going to be
width and height.
Width, and then this is going to be previous width. Yeah.
And we're going to need height and default values for both of them.
Yeah.
Let's just hard code them for now. We're going to make it configurable later.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, I'm going to set the...
By the way, in the previous stream, this is for people who are watching right now. I remember we discussed that there's no way to derive the actual pixel value of CSS relative units, but it turns out there's an actual way to do that. So, yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah. So what technique did you have in mind for that?
There's a web API that I think is called computer style or something, so that the browser actually gives you the pixel points and you can calculate relative CSS units based on that.
Yeah. So
what that means is like you can see the pixel value for like 10 rem or something, basically.
Yeah. So the way that I've done that before is that I just put a dummy element on the root of the page, and then you measure that.
Yeah. Okay, so you got the client direct of that dummy element, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so this would be just an invisible dummy element. Judy Kyle is asking, why do we need to pass the previous width and height again? Trying to see where we're doing that.
I can explain that.
Okay,
we need the previous width and height values so that when you press escape while dragging on either of the directions, we could reset the width and height to those previous values. So basically cancel.
Yeah. Also, so right now I am using pointerMove.x because we only like with this, we only care about the client x. So .client x. Actually,
I guess it should be conditional based on the direction.
Yeah. So I'm just going to give it the entire event for now. Because again, we're already saying if we're moving pointerMove.x, then we're changing the width. PointerMove.y changes the height. So I'm going to put that over here. And we're going to just do pointerMove.y. Okay, so we have two handles right now. If I move it up, nothing really happens. If I move this, nothing really happens. So let's take a look at what's happening. Oh, you know what? We're probably not getting to the dragging state. Oh, no, we do have pointer down. So we should be having like this pointerMove.x happen.
So it's not happening now?
Yeah, it's not happening. But thankfully, we could just... all right, let's see what's happening over here. I could just console.log e, and we could take a look. Let's open the console. Okay, so we are getting this. We're getting this.
But the type is pointer move. Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, and so even easier, we could just console.log the state over here, or state.context. and see what's happening. So, oh, you know what? We're still changing the size.
Yeah.
That's why. Okay. So, yeah, this is why types are helpful. So this is going to be height. This is going to be width. And okay, so now it's working, and it's very laggy. And the reason it's very laggy is because we're doing a console log. So let me just get rid of that.
What would that make it laggy, by the way?
Oh, console log just makes everything super laggy for some reason. Like, I mean, if you look right now, it's like night and day. So,
that's interesting.
And there you go. Wow, we already have left, top down. That was easy.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have our full collapsing. No. Oh, I commented out those states. That's why.
Yeah, we only have normal now. Was that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next step, collapsing.
Yes. Next step, collapsing. So
we have a question before that, David. You might want to take this. Why not
sure.
keeping the last width or height before they press escape, or unrelease the mouse instead of passing prev width and prev height?
I'm trying to figure out what that's in reference to. Why not keeping the last width or height before they press escape? So we are doing that though. On pointer, or yeah. So when we enter the dragging state, first we set pointer capture, but we're also just capturing the previous width and height, and we're saving that to context so that we know when we press escape. Oh, it's not doing it. Did I forget to do it? It's doing it for width, so this might be a CSS thing. Or no, it shouldn't be. So
because we're not passing prev height in the initial context value.
Oh, do we not do that? Oh, well, yeah, you might be right. Okay. So we have width, prev width, height, prev height. Just make it a square.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all right, now height's working, and now width's working. Yeah.
Yeah, we need that initial value anyway, but it's going to get updated by the actions while the machine is running. So no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, like the height wants to be 400, but right now it's limited by the min height. So if we were to change this to 20 VW, then we'll probably see it. Yep. So now we have it as a square. So we see that the width is 400, and let's go ahead and add the height there too. So I'm just going to do a good old line break and then add height. Cool. So now we could see the height's changing. And we also have the width changing.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Okay, so we have width, pre-width, heights, pre-height. Just to keep things simple, I'm going to add our default width, which is also going to be 400, not 4,000, and our default height as well. So here's the goal. When we double-click one of the handlers, we should reset it back to the default width or the default height, depending on what we're doing. Or in fact, I guess we could do both.
We don't have size in the context, so this should be both width and height.
Yeah. Okay, so when we reset, here, I'm going to comment these out for now so we don't cause an error. Yeah, we should. Oh yeah, so you do have the reset over here.
Yeah.
So this is great because we already have the logic in here. Like we know that if we reset, then it's going to, reset to the default width and default height. So the next problem just becomes hooking it up to our actual UI. But here's something that's really cool. Because we have a state machine over here, I'm going to show you something really hacky, but also really useful. State machines, people think like the most useful part of them is states, but I think that something that's equally, if not more useful, is the fact that everything becomes an event, everything that you do, because you're not manipulating state directly, you're sending over events. So if I say, I'm just going to do here, we're going to get the actor, which is the third argument over here. And I'm just going to say window.resize actor equals actor. I'm not doing this in the use effect because it doesn't really matter. It's just going to keep setting it to that. And this is the same reference anyway, so it's okay. And so what I could do is, let me go ahead and reload this. And let's see if we have the resize actor. You might not be able to see this, but here we go.
You do, David.
Yeah. So let's say that I change things up over here. And what did we call the event that resizes it? Or that, sorry, that resets it.
Just reset.
Oh, okay. So if I do resize actor.send type reset over here, zoom out.
Didn't work.
Oh, it didn't work because here we go. Reset is only happening when we're dragging. So if we were to visualize this, we would see, actually, yeah, let's pretend that I didn't catch that logical, error. Let me install XState inspect and see it works.
Yeah, it would be fun to see the event sequences live.
Yeah. So I'm going to install XState inspect from XState inspect. And we're just going to inspect. By default, it's an iframe. That'll probably change in future versions. Oh, wow. It just opened right away.
I just wanted to mention here that if this was an imperative code, you would have had to spend like 5 or 10 minutes figuring out that the resetting is happening in the wrong state. But here you just see that it's structurally in the wrong place.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're about to show. And so what you also have to do is with this use machine, you have to set DevTools true. And that's because you don't want to visualize every single one of your machines. You might want to only opt in. Okay, so if I save that and if I reload, we already have a window connection to this visualizer, but it's not seeming to want to play nice. I do have DevTools true, so.
Let me try it out here. Okay, it's opening it for me.
Don't worry, technical difficulties.
Okay, there is an error in the console.
Oh, okay.
We might have a problem with the...
Oh, block the frame with origin from accessing across origin frame. Okay, that's new. But that's okay. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste everything over and put it in the visualizer. I think Farzad might have a fix as well. Let's go to the visualizer. Create machine. And I'm just going to copy and paste the code here. So, and sorry if you can't see that, but assign is not defined. Let's go ahead and pull that. Command enter or control enter if you're on Windows. Okay, so here's our state machine. Unfortunately, not live just because of a cross frame thingy. I forgot I was connected to that window, so I lost everything. Okay, state lead.ai viz. Thankfully, it saved it for me. So we have this reset event over here. And we're seeing that this reset event is only going to happen when we're in the dragging states. So we see that like this is actually something that we want to happen regardless of which state that we're in. So we could just move it out to the outside. All right. I'm gonna comment this out just so it stops opening a window.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, I'm going to take my reset event and we are going to move it. So it is part of like, actually, it isn't related to dragging or collapsing. So we could actually put it on the top level. So I'm just going to say on reset, we don't need a target over here. We just need an action to handle it. All right, so again, let's drag, change our panel. And now, again, I'm going to send this resize actor.send type reset event. Zooming out. There we go. So now we have reset. And so that's a way that you could actually pretty much test any event that your state machine can handle. If you wanted to do it directly from the window, eventually we're going to just, and in fact, if the inspector was working, you could do it from the inspector as well. But we are slowly working on a VS, or not a VS Code extension, but a browser extension so that you could easily send events from pretty much anywhere.
Here's a crazy idea. Enable like a WebSocket connection to somewhere, some external resource. Let them send the reset event to you, and you just send it to your machine here.
Oh, yeah, like a remote development environment. Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool idea. And speaking of like remote state machine manipulation, I recently did a show with the Learn with Jason show with Jason Langsdorff of Netlify. And that was a lot of fun because we were able to hook up a state machine to a Netlify edge function where the state was persisted in planet scale. A lot of buzzwords here. And it was super cool. We were able to just manipulate the same state machine from completely different parts of the world. So let's add some double click handlers.
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly put the link to Learn with Jason session that David had and was just talking about in the comments. So yeah, you can click on it and check it out later if you're interested.
Thanks. Okay, so I added this send reset to the north-south handle. So if I drag this up here and I double click, it'll reset. That was pretty easy.
This is pretty cool. Yes. Yeah, when you have the machine modeled from ground up and you get like a stable, how to say, like a stable state with the machine, and your model is pretty solid now, has a bare bone and foundations. It's just pretty much sending different events now.
Yeah, sending events. And notice that with the state machine, like we moved this, if I could find it, we moved this reset event over to the top level. So now we have reset, poorly formatted, but yeah, so now this reset is going to happen no matter what. This is important to show because you could start here. Like if you have a state machine that only has one state and you're still in the mindset of Redux where it's like, hey, just based on the event, I want to change some data, then you could definitely start with that. You could put all of your events here. Not that I'd recommend it, like it's not the best design, but if you start from there, you're going to notice patterns where it's like, oh, wow, I'm checking this conditional a lot for these events. Like I don't want these to do anything if I'm not in the drag state. So I need to group those somehow or, have defensive logic everywhere. And so that's an indicator that you want to start thinking about finite states. So.
So the reducer is basically just a machine without hierarchy.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Okay, so one more feature.
Yeah, I have a very cool feature in mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Can we go for this grabbing or grabbed cursor styles in CSS while your pointer is down, or you're dragging? There are different cursor values in CSS. Have you seen those? There's like a
I
hand.
have not. Or the only ones I know are like the hand one, and
There's a hand, open hand, and there's another one that's pressed, and you can see them. Go for grabbed, grabbing, grab. There are like different values here. You could actually see that in action in the demo on top.
okay, so there's grabbing. We actually
Yeah.
have resize ones as well. So, oh wow,
Mhm.
that's cool. Like if you hover over each of these, it shows that. I really appreciate MDN for doing this. So, and yeah, Judy Kyle says when the mouse down, grab, and when the mouse moves, grabbing.
Exactly.
I mean, resize does make more sense for that, but we could have fun, with it.
Yeah. But this is not a feature. I just wanted to mention that.
Right. Yeah.
But do we have any other features in mind, though?
Yeah. So there was one that we talked about, and that's the one. And this is going to make use of guards, but it's the one where the arrow points a certain direction when we reach, like, basically as far as we could go. So that's going to be, we have W resize, S resize, things like that. So
Paul says that he implemented the cursor stuff today in Tildra. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I'm a huge fan of Tildra, by the way.
Yeah, another one here. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, wait a minute. Speaking of your idea, so we have like NS resize, so this up and down thing, but we also have call resize and row resize. You know what? So instead of doing the grabby hand thing, we could just change those things. Here, I'll show you what I mean. So we have cursor ew resize, and that's this one right over there. But I think what you're saying is that when we're not dragging, then we could show a different cursor. So just to give you an example, cursor call resize. So this could be the cursor when we're not dragging yet. And then once we start dragging, then it's going to show those arrows. So let's add some tags, because we don't want to depend on the structure of our state machine, because it can change. And so in order to make the state machine more resilient to that, like us changing the logic, whichever way we want to, we could add tags. So I'm just going to add a tag over here. It's dragging. Of course, you could add more than one tag. But basically, we're saying only when we're in this dragging state should we show that cursor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where was I? Oh, over here. So we could say const is dragging equals state.hasTag dragging. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. If it has a dragging tag, then we know that we're dragging. And so now we could change the states however which way we want, and it's still going to have that tag. So is dragging ew resize. Otherwise, I know it's east-west resize, but yeah. Okay, so I really don't know if you could see this, but it is going to change once you start dragging. So we do have that effect. And so we could do the same thing here. Is dragging row resize, or actually it's the other way around. Yeah. Cool. So that's working. Again, I'm sorry if you can't see it directly on the stream, but yeah.
Yeah, trust us, this works. And when we share the link to Code Sandbox, you can see that in action in your own computer. So all good.
Yeah. I have a feature request that it'll take us only a couple minutes to do, and if you want to do it,
Shoot.
Farzad, um, I noticed that if I'm dragging the panel, and I could drag this in whichever direction I want, when I double click it, it's resetting both. But instead, I wanted to only reset the thing that I clicked on. So how would
Sure.
we model that?
Let me take a look at the resetting right now. So where's the reset event? Oh, we moved it to the root, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just look at. Oh, by the way, I think we lost the collaboration section because the editor is read only to me in Code Sandbox.
All right, let me fix that. There we go. You're an editor now.
Great. Okay. So what we can do is since we have a shared reset that is resetting the width to the default width and height to default height at the same time, we could probably divide that into reset with X and Y. Pretty much basically the same idea as the pointer move.
Yeah,
And
you're reading my mind.
Yep. Okay, so this could be the default width, and oh god, those suggestions are horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite one is when you're writing CSS and you write, what was that? WID, and you get, what was that? Widows or something.
Yeah, something. I swear, with VS Code, I have learned so many CSS properties that I've never knew existed, and I will never use in my life because it auto-completed those for me. And I'm like, when will I
Exactly.
use widows or orphans or
I mean,
something like that?
what's that even in the first place? I mean, I've never heard anybody using that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's very obscure. It's like an orphan is when you have a block of text and you have just one word hanging off at the very end. That's considered an orphan. But then there's widows, which, yeah, I'm not sure.
All right. I think this is pretty much working now. You can try to demo that right now. So we're only resetting the one that is that's just changed, or not just changed, like basically resetting the one that's being double clicked on. So if you double click on the horizontal handler, it's going to reset the horizontal state.
That is cool.
And we just saw how easy it was. Just divide the event into two different specific events per direction, and you got it working.
It's very awesome. Well,
yeah, I think like what our logics are usually, David, like what makes it complicated at the scale is that our logic is just imperatively mingled together with using imperative code, but like with events, everything is specific and everything is traceable. So nothing changes unless there's a trace of events causing that change. So it's pretty good. I mean, at least you get a very solid debugging style with the state charts or event-based systems.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why even if you don't want to go like full state machine or state chart, at least thinking in terms of events is really going to, take you pretty far.
I think that's a good topic for a talk, David. You probably want to go on a stage and talk about that on a conference.
Oh, you should.
Yeah, somebody should.
I'm moving these update widths and update heights over to here. So these are going to become strings now. Update width, update height, and this invoke, like as someone who's trying to understand the logic, I had to stare at this a bit and be like, what is this doing again? And then I'm like, oh, okay, we're just listening for the escape key. So I'm just going to call this cancel on escape. So that way I could just move this to actually I'll just do it right over here.
So, that naming might be problematic if you later on want to add more keyboard interactions. Like imagine pressing shift and going 10 by 10 pixels or something like that.
Yeah, you're right. Cancel.
That's an idea for another stream.
Exactly. All right. Yeah. Well, I think we did pretty well. If you think so too, please let us know in the comments and let us know what you want to see next. This was fun.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
All right.
All right, everyone. Have a good one.
See you all.
See you.